You're not gonna get rid of me. No, I won't stand for it. I love you, Master. Master. Please, Master. Oh, I love you, Master. Master, I love you. What am I going to do without you, Master? I can't make it without you, Master. Oh, you told me you love me too, Master. I love you. I love you, Master. Master, what about all them babies I carried for you, Master? And you shipped them out, Master, so they could get a good education, Master. But what about me? What about... Master! I love you! Forever! Master! I love you. I love you. Forever, Master. Forever, Master. I love you.
There were free slaves in Savannah, Georgia. I, Magdalene, I be a free slave. Somebody gotta witness this mess, this atrocity, this sin before God Almighty. Lord of us, we was from West Africa, never been a slave. They captured the best. They didn't just go to West Africa and get some people. They got the people from Sierra Leone and Gambia and Ghana. They got the best rice growers from Sierra Leone, the rice pickers, the cotton pickers, and the sugar cane. They brought us from West Africa through the transatlantic slave trade on the way to the 3 ports of entry. South Carolina, be it Charleston, Savannah, Georgia, the 2nd port of entry. And Virginia, the 3rd, on the way they tyranny. They dropped some of us off in the Caribbean basin to the island of Grenada. It was a breeding area. So when you see the long, slim Mandingo slaves, they was breeding with the Fulani in the Grenadas. Somebody gotta tell the story. We say in this year's saltwater place, in 1859, the ancestors be with us. In 1859, Pierce Butler, the master and owner of 2 plantations on the Georgia Sea Island of St. Simons in Darien, Georgia, was gamblers. The 2 brothers, the masters of a rice and cotton field, gambled and was almost in debt. They had a meeting and decided that the 817 slaves, they got to split them up. And so they went through their docket. They had the names of the slaves mixed in with the animals, the cattle and things. And they decided that day that they was going to have 436 slaves carried to Savannah. The date was set, March 2nd and 3rd, 1859. And they brought them to the horse race track. And they put them in the stalls over there. 3 days before the auction, the buyers come from Louisiana over there. Some of them come from Alabama. And we had them far as Massachusetts come to buy these slaves. They stayed in the stalls for 3 days under strict inspections by the buyers. They checked for their hands and their arms and their teeth. They wanted to know if the men were strong enough to plow from sunrise to sunset. They wanted to make sure the women could bear at least 3 sets of children from 1 or 2 masters. And the sale on the advertisements, the marketing, was done across the United States. They say this year is going to be the largest slave sale. And so they advertise. The New York Times says 436 men, women, children, and infants. And they want you to know they even sold the elders. The oldest was 98 years old. And he and his wife of 89 was sold together for $250. The total sale of 436 West Africans was $303,000 in 1859. Today's value, according to the New York Stock Exchange, is $7 billion to this year date. The value of slaves was measured among the cattle. March the 2nd and 3rd, 1859, the auction was held. But Lord of mercy, come midnight on the 3rd of March, 1859, I was there, and I tell you that the skies opened and it rained in Savannah, Georgia for 3 days. We call it the weeping time. Ladies and gentlemen, the auction, it must begin.
All right, it's auction time. It's action time.
What? Hold on.
Oh, Jesus! Have mercy! Have mercy, Lord!
Aren't you Corey Smith, boy? Well, my name is Leroy Miller. I'm happy to make your acquaintance. I knew your father. And I'm sorry to hear about his passing.
I don't think he's still there. He does have good work.
Well, son, that's not a problem. Your father practiced this that I did, the Willie Lynch process. Here's a copy of it for you, so that you can know how to keep your slaves in line. And if you don't know about it, your father practiced it, I do too, and I'll teach you everything that you need to know.
That's one of the people named Lynch. I thought you should change your name.
This, the Willie Lynch letter, it's the slave's Bible. It's the Bible to making a slave. He wrote down everything there that he studied from the West Indies, and he studied animals. And so he wrote up the process and everything else so that we can go ahead and keep the slaves in line. Do you know about it? Well, son, I see that I have a locked-in part upon you. So I want you to stick to me close, and I'm going to go ahead and teach you all that we need to know at this auction. Well, you see, Willie Lynch had a foolproof method for keeping slaves in line. Now, he could control them and make sure that everything was done. And if this practice was done correctly, son, then it will last for 300 years, probably thousands of years, to go ahead and control. Because once, if it's implemented right for a year, your children can do it, your wife can do it, everyone can go ahead and do it to keep them in line. Now, he outlined a number of differences, and he went ahead and categorized on these differences. The differences that he looked at, one being with age, and age is up there first, so we'll just start with an age, okay? Then you also go ahead and look at the sex. Then you go ahead and look at the color of the skin, young versus old. You go ahead and also go ahead and look at the size of the plantation, where the plantation is located at, whether it's east, west, north, south, or whether or not it's in the valley, on a hill, so you can know how to go ahead and control the slaves that's there. And you go ahead and look at the attitudes of the slaves. You go ahead and make sure that you get, now this is very important, you need to go ahead and get you a white overseer who hates black people. You need to get them who hate slaves with that, so that they can go ahead and keep them in line. Now, once you go ahead and have this process, you want to go ahead and make sure that you pit young against old, the young male against the old male, the older male against the younger male. You want to go ahead and put the females against the males against the females. You want to go ahead and put the one that's in the field against the one that's in the house. You want to go ahead and make a lot of differences in there. Now, once you go ahead and institute this, the black slaves, after being indoctrinated with this, will carry it from generation to generation. They won't know why, but this is what we call the part of embedding it into their system. And then they will not know why they go ahead and do that when they look at the difference of the color. And it's very important. Now, sometimes this will go ahead and come to where in essence you will go ahead and see the differences of the slaves may come back. But that's when you go ahead and take some of our good white blood and you mix it with some of the slave women blood, as many as you can. And then you see you're going to go ahead and work it until you get it to a color. Once you get the color that you like, then you can go ahead and let them mix one among one another, and that will keep the slaves in control. But since I've gone ahead and given you a part of it, let's go over here and let me show you how to pick out some slaves. Let's go to the auction.
It's auction time. Line up. Shut up! What you brought for? I want my family to stay together. I'm not crying for me, I'm crying for my family. Shut up, Negro! Get away, woman! Get away, Negro!
Don't tell my baby. Please.
Shut up! Have mercy! Shut up!
Don't tell my baby.
Oh, have mercy!
Don't tell my girl, child, master. Please don't tell my girl, child.
Oh, have mercy!
Don't tell my girl, child, Lord. Not my girl, child, master. Don't tell us, Lord, not my family.
Shut up!
Don't tell us, She can't work no more.
She's sick and she old now. She's sick and she old. She can't make it, Master. Oh, she can't make it, Master. She can't make it. Oh, Master. Master, don't make us leave, Master.
Yeah, but she was saying I'm gonna buy you. What's her name is Sharon? Sharon. I'm gonna buy you Sharon.
At this time, we would ask that each and every one of you would go over towards the church so that you could actually hear how the auction